لا إله إلا الله 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 لا إله إلا الله جود علينا.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. After praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and sending salutations, peace and blessings upon the best of creation, the jewel and crown of creation, the beloved of Allah Almighty, the coolness to our eyes, the purpose of our lives, the reviver of our hearts, the inspirer to our minds, the awakener of our souls, the most honored one, the most praised one, the most generous one, the most kind one. Undoubtedly, he is the most beautiful one. None other than Sayyiduna Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa barik wa sallam. Continuing with the theme from the last few Fridays on and Tuesday dhikr, talking about the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah Jalla wa Ala's awliya. Awliya is the plural of the word wali. Yani when we say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has friends, it's not like how we have friends. And we mustn't understand this in literal terms, because it could lead to one assuming that Allah Jalla wa Ala has partners. Like when we say Baytullah, the house of Allah, we don't mean this literally. Allah Jalla wa Ala does not have a house. He doesn't live in it or anything of that sort. When we say Baytullah, يعني Masjidul Haram, Kaaba, which we circumambulate around, we do tawaf around, we mean by this, يعني Baytullah, the house of Allah, where Allah Almighty's rahmah and barakah descends. It's a place where Allah Almighty's fadl and karam is most. And because of its location, because of its greatness, its magnitude, its importance, it has been referred to as the house of Allah. Where are we going? I'm going to visit the house of Allah. Every masjid in the world is known as Buyutullah, the houses of Allah. Why? Because this is where Allah Almighty's rahmah is. This is where Allah's fadl is. This is where Allah's karam is. This is where Allah's ihsan is. This is where Allah Almighty's majesty and greatness is. This is where you will find Allah Jalla wa Ala. When you enter into the masjid, what do you say? What's the dua? Allah maftah li abwab rahmatik. Oh Allah, open for me the doors of your mercy. Yani these doors that we walk through here, these are the doors of Allah's mercy. We open them for me. I enter this place with this dua, this supplication, with this hope and this belief that your mercy is here, and if I go into here, I will take and get from this mercy as well. So when we say Waliullah or Awliyaullah, and Allah in the Quran uses this as well. He said, Ala inna awliya Allahi la khawfun alayhim wa la hum yahzanun. Listen carefully, take heed. Indeed, awliya Allah. Inna awliya Allahi la khawfun alayhim. Allah's friends. Awliya here means friends. One meaning of wali is guardian. One meaning of wali is protector. But this is not a munasib translation. This is not an appropriate translation to say, indeed, Allah's guardians, Allah's protectors. No. Allah Jalla wa Ala, He is the guardian and protector of all. Here the meaning is those who are the closest to Allah. Awliyaullah are the ones who are the closest to Allah. How are they close to Allah? Through ibadah, through the worship of Allah. How are they close to Allah Jalla wa Ala? Through recitation of the Quran, through giving zakat and sadaqat and khairat. They are close to Allah Jalla wa Ala because they fast regularly. They do the umrah, they do the hajj. They reach levels of righteousness such righteousness which gets them close to Allah. Therefore Allah refers to them as His friends. Allah Almighty refers to them as His friends. So we must never understand and take this literally. We must always explain. And sufficient is this translation, awliyaullah. Ala inna awliya Allahi la khawfun alayhim. La khawfun alayhim. No fear shall overcome them. Wa la hum yahzanun. No fear overcomes them and no sadness shall overcome them. Nothing will make them sad. In the dunya, they only fear Allah. And in the akhirah, there will nothing, Allah Almighty will not make them sad. Allah will give them. They will be on manabirun nur, on pulpits of light on Yawmul Qiyamah, such that even the prophets of Allah Almighty will be in amazement and awe of their greatness and their rank. And when asked, who are these reserved for? Who is? And Allah Almighty will say, this is for awliya'i, these are for my friends. These are for my closest servants. These are for my ubad. Those servants of Allah, وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا. They walk on this earth with humility. This is who Allah Almighty is talking about. And from amongst the qualities of Allah's men is ittaqu firasat al-mu'min. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His Habib sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, He said what? He said, ittaqu firasat al-mu'min. Fear the sight of the believer. Fear what the believer can see. Firasat al-mu'min, mu'min, al-mu'min. It's important here that a mu'min is whom? The one who has the qualities that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned. The people of Iman have haya. The people of Iman have tawakkul. The people of Iman have yaqeen. The people of Iman have sabr. The people of Iman have shukr. They have these great qualities. There's a level to the Ahlul Mu'minun, Mu'mineen, the people of Iman, the Ahlullah, the people of Iman. These are those people whom Allah Almighty's Habib sallallahu alayhi wasallam is specifically referring to here. Ittaqu firasat al-mu'min. Fear the foresight of the believer. Why? فَإِنَّهُ يَنْزُرُ بِنُورِ اللَّهِ. Because this believer who is so close to Allah Almighty, he sees with Allah's nur. He sees with the light of Allah Jalla wa Ala. What normal people see, he sees greater, better than this. Yani he's superhuman. And if we look at the Sahaba Ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een, I mean, who is more superhuman than those men around Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Take for example Sayyidina Umar radiyallahu anhu. During his caliphate, he sent a group to the borders of Iran, Khorasan, these areas. And this army was led by the commander called Sariya, radiyallahu anhu. And they were about to be ambushed. And from Medina Munawwara, on the minbar of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Sayyidina Umar radiyallahu anhu, he began to say, Ya Sariya al-Jabal, Ya Sariya al-Jabal, Ya Sariya al-Jabal. O Sariya, go to the mountain. O Sariya. Yani Sayyidina Umar is where? In Medina Munawwara. Sayyidina Sariya and the Mu'minun, they are where? All the way near the borders of Iran. Thousands of miles away. Hundreds of miles away. Sayyidina Sariya radiyallahu an, he said to his army, quickly, we must go and take refuge and retreat to the mountain. When he returned and said, the army asked Amir al-Mu'mineen, Sayyidina Sariya, why did you do this? He said, I heard the voice of Umar bin al-Khattab. I heard his voice and he told me that quickly go to the mountain, for he could see. فَإِنَّهُ يَنْزُرُ بِنُورِ اللَّهِ. He could see with Allah's nur what others could not see. From where? Hundreds of miles away. Yani this is a karama, this is a miracle of Sayyidina Umar radiyallahu an, but he reached this level that he was able to see. He had this foresight. Sayyidina Ghazali, Hujjatul Islam, Abu Hamid Muhammad al-Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi, the great Imam. Sayyidina Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi, look at that level he reached. Righteousness, piety, proximity and closeness to Allah subhanahu, al-qurb ilallah. This qurba ilallah, this closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that before he passed away, he dug his grave. He dug his grave, and the morning after Fajr, he shrouded himself in his kafan. He did ghusl and put his kafan on, and he was ready. He was ready for his death. Yani people, wow, an amazement. What is this? فَإِنَّهُ يَنْزُرُ بِنُورِ اللَّهِ. This is that mu'min, the believer, who sees with the light of Allah. Yani Allah Almighty strengthens him so much that he's able to see what others cannot see. He's able to do what others cannot do. Going back to the hadith, يَتَقَرَّبُ إِلَيَّ عَبْدِي. My servant gets so close to me, حَتَّى أُحِبَّهُ, until I love him. يعني يتقرب إلي عبدي بالنوافل أو كما قال. My servant gets close to me through nawafil until I begin to love him. I love him so much that I become the sight that he sees with, the ears that he hears with. I become his hearing, I become his seeing, I become his touching. Not literally. Not literally. Yani Allah Almighty says this servant he sacrifices his time, his nights. He gets so close to me in worship. He gets so close to me in worship that my nur descends on him. My light envelopes him. And I show him, and he activates what? The hidden eye. He activates the sight of the heart. He activates the hearing of the heart. He's able to hear and see what others can't hear and see. And this is maqam of whom? The friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To reach this level, you know, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. You must do jihad. What is jihad? Jihad is struggle. You must strive. This is the real meaning of jihad. Sahaba came back from jihad, from fighting in the way of Allah Jalla wa Ala, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, رَجَعْتُمْ مِنْ جِهَادِ الْأَصْغَرِ إِلَى الْجِهَادِ الْأَكْبَرِ. You've just come back from the smaller jihad to the bigger jihad. He says, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we fought days in battle, many have been slain, we have wounds and our body parts are hanging off our bodies, our eyes are hurting, ears are hurting. We've been in the midst of battle, fighting for the sake of Allah, and you are telling us that you've returned from the lesser jihad to the greater jihad. What do you mean by this, Ya Rasulullah? And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, what is the bigger jihad? What is jihadul akbar? What is al-jihadul akbar? What's the big jihad? Jihad on the nafs. Al-mujahidu man jahada nafsahu fi ta'atillah. The mujahid, the one who fights in Allah's way, who is he? Who is the real one? Man jahada nafsah. Who fights against him, who does jihad against his own ego, his desire. This is the real struggle. This is the real battle. This is where the battles take place. When you are tempted to succumb to your desires, temptations, yani overcoming this, fighting against this is the great jihad. And many of us are failing this. Hazrat Baba Bulle Shah Rahmatullah alayhi, what did he say? He says, "Eme roz shaitan na larda hai, kadi apne aap nu lariya hi nahi. Kadi apne aap na lariya hi nahi. Eme roz shaitan na larda hai. All day you're fighting the devil, but you forgot to fight yourself. There's a devil inside you that you've forgotten. There's a nafs and ego inside you that needs to be killed, that needs to be slaughtered, that needs to be sacrificed. Lillahi tabarak wa ta'ala, and we've forgotten this. فألهمها ونفس وما سواها فألهمها فجورها وتقواها قد أفلح من زكاها. Allah Almighty said, and I take an oath by the nafs and how it's been created. فألهمها فجورها وتقواها. And then we told the nafs what is right and what is wrong. قد أفلح من زكاها. Succeeded is he who has what? Who has perfected and cleansed his nafs. He will succeed. قد أفلح من زكاها. The one who does tazkiyatun nafs, he has succeeded. وقد خاب من دساها. Destroyed is the one who has given into his desires. The biggest challenge facing humans after shaitan is shaitan is an open enemy. He is aduwwun mubin. He is in front of us, around us, always doing waswasa and doing this and doing this. He's always tempting us. The biggest jihad is your nafs. fighting against this, constantly in battle. This is why they say the awliya of Allah, they are the greatest mujahideen. Allah's awliya, like Hazrat Shaykh Abdul Qadir al-Ghilani, like Sayyidina al-Junaid, Sayyidina Bishr, Sayyidina Fudail, these great Imams, they are the greatest mujahideen. Why? Because 24 hours, 7 days a week, they were in the battlefield against the nafs. And he who dies in the way of Allah Almighty, fi ta'atillah, in the obedience of Allah Almighty, that person is considered a shaheed. This is why we consider the awliya of Allah min ash-shuhada. Limadha? Because they are those people, jahada nafsa. They are always struggling against themselves. You know, we give in to our temptations, our desires. We do what pleases us. Yet our purpose on this earth is to do what pleases Allah. That's what our purpose is here. That's why Allah sent us here, to please Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah Jalla wa ala to make us from those people, chosen people, His chosen servants, who do every action to please Him, to make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala happy and pleased. And may Allah make us from those people like His awliya, who are in His divine protection and love. وأقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم وآخر دعوايا عن الحمد لله رب العالمين.
لا إله إلا الله 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 لا إله إلا الله جود على